Okay, hi guys. So welcome to the XR Ed Tech webinar. You probably have seen this for the last couple of weeks with Dan in the driver's seat, but today we're going to turn the tables, and I will be interviewing Dan and Mikael Jacobson, as well as the Generation Z of your reality. So today our focus is basically looking at Learn for Life, the not-for-profit arm at Eon Reality, and what we're doing to expand our mission as knowledge as a human right. So just a quick introduction to myself. I'm Richie Lacuchen. As you can see, I'm based in France, not in a vineyard, but in an office somewhere in a vineyard. And I'm working with organizations around the world to expand their programs to the community. So without further ado, I'm just gonna let Dan introduce himself. I don't think he needs much further introduction, but it would be great if you could do a quick one, and then to Mikael.
Yeah, so Dan Leoskar, I'm chairman and CEO, and I've been with the company since its inception 22 years ago. It's a pleasure to join this webinar. Thank you, Richie.
Great. Mikael, your turn.
Yes, hello. My name is Mikael Jacobson. I'm on an island outside the Swedish coast, and I'm working with business development, mainly in Europe and Africa, and I've been with the company for many years, and I'm co-founder of Eon together with Dad. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. And then we have our team of interns. If we could do a quick introductions around the table. So perhaps we can start with Carl.
Okay, hi, my name is Carl Mankinfak, and I'm an intern at Eon Reality in the Business Development Department, and thank you for welcoming me in this webinar.
Thank you.
Where are you right now, Carl?
Yeah. Exactly.
I am in Germany right now.
Germany, okay. But normally, would you share with us where you are from originally?
Okay, originally I'm Cameroonian. I'm half French, half Cameroonian, and born and raised in Cameroon, and I traveled to France when I was 16. After I graduated from high school.
Cool, cool. Thank you.
The next person we'd like to introduce is Maliha.
Hi, my name is Malia Kamran. I'm from Toledo, Ohio. Originally, I'm from Pakistan. And thank you for welcoming me here.
Thank you. Glad to have you here. And Griffin?
My name is Griffin Jennings, and I'm a business development intern here at Eon Reality, and I'm born and raised in New Jersey, and that's where I currently reside.
Okay, thank you. And Lavina, please.
Hi, my name is Lavina. I'm also a business development intern here at Eon Reality. I'm currently in Kigali, Rwanda, but I am originally from Kenya, born and raised in Kenya.
Wonderful place.
Happy to be here.
Thank you. Last but not least, Nina.
Yeah, hi, I'm from California, but currently living in Montana, and I just started as a grant writing intern at Eon.
Wonderful, thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, so we've got a great team of interns, and we're going to be hearing from them as we talk about, their experiences in the online classroom in 2020 and their vision for the classroom beyond that. So before I start with them, I think I'm going to ask Dan and Mikael a couple of questions. So Dan, could you, first of all, we've heard a lot about Learn for Life. We're doing the grant guarantee program. Could you tell us a bit more about what Learn for Life does, its mission, and the change that you want to see with its activities?
Yes. So this is an initiative that started over 15 years ago. And the basic idea has been the same throughout this period, is to use virtual and augmented reality, what we normally call together XR, technology to help facilitate knowledge transfer. But what we wanted to do when we started 15 years ago is to bring it to the people that need it most. And what's so transformational, in my opinion, about this technology, it can actually address knowledge transfer in much higher level than text or video. So people are enabled, even if people are functional illiterate, they can actually learn things. And in fact, when we started 15 years ago in locations throughout Africa with support of UNIDO, UNESCO, and others, we actually were addressing communities with almost no electricity or water, and communities where they have this telling story tradition, not by reading and writing. And we were astonished how VR and AR could cut through and leapfrog from one level to the other. So that started as an experiment. And throughout the years, we have built on this program. As early as 2014, we expanded to something we call the Knowledge Bit Initiative, which was launched together with United Nations in Vienna. And that's about to adapt the price, because cost, let's face it, is a big issue, how we can make the price adapted to disposable income. So in Ethiopia, where we've been very successful, or places like South Africa, but more so now we see in Ghana, the disposable income is very low. So we are adapting the license and thus make it affordable. So that's been one initiative. And the last one, the one that we started in November last year, added what we call the Grant Guarantee Program, where we encourage institutions throughout the world to apply for a grant. And if they're eligible and they have merits and they want to use this technology, we are enabling them to do so. And I'm very happy to report that so far we have around 70 locations just this year. So it's taking on a new phase, and it helps the democratization process. And perhaps one thing that, as a part of Learn for Life, is very important, the last part, is to actually make it available for the masses. So our standard initiation is about 5,750 students per location. And that's, I would say, unheard of historically. So that's a little bit about Learn for Life. And unfortunately, one of the key players that in Learn for Life is actually not me. Learn for Life is led now by Anna Leeskar, and she couldn't join us this time, but I very much look forward to have a new session with her soon. And she could tell about this much better. Thank you.
Okay, great. I mean, so thank you, Dan. I just got a question. So you mentioned that, you know, you started Learn for Life 15 years ago, and this was when basically VR and AR was a nascent technology for education. So can you tell us then, why did you decide to take the plunge? Was it something you saw that no one else saw? And if you could go back in time, would that be something you would change about this?
Yeah, actually, I'd love to pass this question, if you don't mind, to Mikael, because he's more guilty than I am. So Mikael, why don't you take that one?
Guilty as charged.
Yeah. We have actually been working in Africa for more than 20 years, I would say, with different partnerships. And we developed a relation with Naledi 3D in South Africa, where we have together done a number of projects supporting when it comes to HIV, AIDS, sanitation, beekeeping, and many, many areas where we saw a potential, but at that time we basically subsidized or helped and support with our software to be able to train and educate. But we saw a great potential for the future, and now we see how the market is coming and how we can reach a broader market and masses on the African continent.
Okay. So, I mean, this is something that Dan alluded to earlier in his piece about, you know, basically the varying gaps in literacy. So you have been instrumental in bringing ER reality to this region of Africa. So I would imagine there were a lot of challenges in this region. So how do you basically see XR playing a role in addressing, you know, all these different gaps of knowledge?
Well, yeah, but first of all, it's a visual power. Yeah, but people can interact, they can see it, and our language used to be visual before we decided to make a code of the language. And for many places in Africa, it's still a talking language, not a written language. Obviously, we can adopt and get many languages into the system, but the visual power is the most important, and that helps a lot when we train and educate farmers, for instance, in various parts.
Okay, wonderful. So obviously, I mean, we've been working there for the last 15 years. I was wondering, what do you think, you know, was the project that you saw that was of most benefit, or that was of, you know, the greatest impact with what ER reality has done for Africa?
I wouldn't say specific project. What I would say is actually when we were setting up partnerships, I remember especially when we had the inauguration in South Africa, in Pretoria, where we engaged a lot of young students from the townships. And we actually paid the bus tickets for them to be able to go to this education that we provided for free. But to see these young kids coming and be able to educate themselves, to be in this environment, that's an amazing feeling to see, because you know, if they get educated, they can take a job anywhere basically in the world. And we see the same situation now in Morocco and other places that we are working. So I think when you see that part, that I would say is the most interesting part of this work, and you know, empower people that wouldn't have that possibility, I would say, in other cases.
Yeah, exactly. And this rings true. I mean, this ties us back really to your reality's mission of making knowledge a human right, and then consequently a better living standards for, you know, for the community. So what do you think, though, will be the biggest challenges to realize this vision? You know, that knowledge is easily accessible, and that, you know, people can have much improved livelihoods as a result. And how do you think it can be overcome? And also another question, maybe something Dan has spoken about, is how are we trying to turn this into reality, our mission into reality? Perhaps Dan, both of you can
I can chip in. First of all, I just want to underline one thing, and Michael put it so well. We are committed to Africa, but we're also committed to the world. As you know, recently, as recent as this spring, we launched a very large initiative with UNICEF to help kids in Vietnam. And I can see young kids in 10, 12, how engaged it's all about engagement. I think it's one of the big values with this technology. You can see how they are attracted, especially in the times of COVID, where people, essentially most kids, what they have done is they put mute on, and they flip a TikTok or some other movie, and they're definitely not engaged. And I've seen it over and over again when I visit friends with young kids. So I see that is, it's not limited to that. We see the same opportunities now in Latin America and throughout the world. But to your question about challenges, I would say there are many challenges, right? Trying to do things very far away from where we are. We are here in the comfort of the Western world, and try to reach out in some corners of the world that has been a problem, because, and I personally traveled to more than, I think, together with Anna, 80 countries, and some of them 60 times. And, you know, that takes a toll. The COVID has been a great help there, because now people do accept to make a transaction without seeing each other face to face. I think that hopefully will continue. Other issues are bureaucracy. We deal often with governments. That takes time. Parties change, and we need to continue on a steady hand throughout, because our program stretches years, it's not about months. Funding, always a problem. That's money. But I would say this year, more than ever, there's a deep realization, and especially in developing countries, that if they want to advance, it has to be to knowledge and knowledge transfer, enhancing the digitalization process. So I must say there's been a switch there. And I'm so thrilled to see countries like, as I said, Ghana, or places like Ethiopia and others joining that I couldn't, and they fund projects also, which is amazing. So those will be the top. I know, Michael, what you think as challenges.
I would like to add to that, to overcome any of the challenges, we create very good partnerships, like with USAID, for instance, with the American government, like we did in Morocco, to work together with them. They have the experience, they have the people on the ground, they know the culture, they know sort of the way through the country, and connect us. In that case, yeah, but we are working with 2 universities, with the local government, with the Minister of Education, Minister of Industry, and with USAID. And we had I have to think now, the inauguration was last year, I think, in February. Before the COVID hits. And that's been a very successful, and that's a long-term commitment for all partners. It's a 5-year partnership, where we also now see a prolongation in entering into other countries. So that's has been a great support and a help. And we are also now in discussion with the similar organizations like World Bank, etc.
Exactly. I mean, I think, obviously there are a lot of gaps to be filled, but that's why, you know, we have the grant guarantee program, and we are working with funding organizations and governments around the world to make sure that we can maximize the benefit of AR and VR for the schools and for the universities that we work with. And these benefits are meant to, expand beyond just the confines of the campus, but, to a greater public. Yeah, so anyway, thank you so much for that. So just one quick question. Today we are working with a whole network of new partners spanning over 50 countries. And particularly, we're seeing a huge appetite for learning technologies, XR learning technologies in growing economies or developing economies. Why did you think this might be the case? And this is a question that I pose to both you, Dan and Michael.
Yeah.
Hello, Dan.
And I hope we get youngsters also to join soon. But I assume you have some questions for our younger teammates. Probably we are, all guys here speculating. They have the know-how, yeah, because they see from a reality perspective. This is not a philosophical question for them. But and I would say, yeah, Michael, you go.
No, I think, yeah, but what we see is that it's a big change. And I always remember a statement that the former Minister of Education did in Ethiopia. And he said, I have 39 million students, 44,000 schools. There's three ways to solve my problem. Either I rely on a miracle, I rely on some God or something, or I go for technology. And this time I will go for technology. So I think many of these coming countries, I would say, because we all believe, and many others believe, that Africa will be the coming continent, and they will take steps that is needed to be. In this case, the Minister of Education in Ethiopia, he has the pressure to become a middle-income country, and the only way to do it is to train and educate the young population. There is no other way of doing it.
And I would bring this problem also at home, sorry to interrupt, just if I may intervene, because we have Griffin with us and he's here in New Jersey, right? So he's thinking, this pandemic has exposed real problems that were under the bubble, so to speak, but became apparent during this pandemic. And if I go to a community college in, whether it's New Jersey or it's anywhere in the US, in Alabama, and I wake up the president at 4 a.m. in the morning and say, what's on your mind? What keeps you awake at 4 a.m.? And he or she will probably answer, how, especially during the pandemic, how do I engage my students, right? How do I make sure that they get a quality education? And just people fade out even if we speak here, after 6 minutes in Zoom, people kind of fade out unless you have something really intriguing. But what I think technology like ours have proven to deliver this year, where we sold, I think, almost 650,000 licenses last year, is the engaging factor. And that was missing in this, let's say, digital communication, the ability to do things. There's no way you can cheat on an XR lesson, because you get an assignment, you have to do it. You can't do other things while you have to do something physically. So I think that element may be the important one. But I would turn the question to our youngster here. I know who wants to go. So let's start with the lady first. Maybe Lavina, what do you think? Okay, Lavina, I think you're muted. Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, you can hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes, we can.
Awesome. So I'm basically very excited about virtual and augmented reality, given my experience learning online, especially at my school. It's not required for us to really have our cameras on. Like right now, we're having a very interactive session. You can see what everyone is doing now, and our cameras are turned off, and sometimes people are muted. You don't even know if somebody just signed into the class and they went about doing their own businesses. But then the ability to really integrate augmented virtual reality in a classroom setup, in a learning environment, is really important, because then you really are responsible for knowing exactly who has done the work, and you're able to really measure it, compared to the camera is not on, people might be doing their own businesses. Yeah, and I see a lot of struggle, especially in my classroom because I'm still a student. I'm actually in my third year in my university. And students have really been complaining. They're like, oh, they wish that we just had in-person classes because our teachers would be there. There are certain things that you really can't transfer just through the screen or in a Zoom environment. But when the existing technologies like AR and VR, I see that being a possibility. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And the good news is that it's coming to Rwanda. We have a GGP program that's been approved. We started with Polytechnique in Rwanda, and I think we'll expand from there thanks to your minister's initiative. Sorry, I didn't mean to take the rein there, Richie. I was curious. Please go ahead.
No, it's okay. I mean, these are, I think what Lavina mentioned, the ability really to test someone and to know that your understanding it's and that immediate feedback is so crucial and so important to that learning. But in any case, let's just go back to the macro view of technology and how AR is helping. You know, obviously AR is very important. I think AR, VR are obviously very great tools. I mean, good tools for teaching, learning, and I think you can immediately see its benefit, or it's quite evident. But you know, we don't exist in a system where something just works by itself. So I'm just curious, you know, both Michael and Dan, whoever wants to jump in first, other than technology, what do you think are the crucial factors that are important for bringing that learn to life vision into reality?
Yeah, I'll pass my question to Nina.
Oh, yeah. So going back to a little bit what Lavina was saying, like I've got 3 semesters under my belt now of pandemic online learning, and there are so many things that are different and, you know, less beneficial from it, which is like teachers have no idea how many students are really paying attention or really learning. And like she was saying, having like things that can engage you more with AR and VRs would be like a really solid middle ground for if you're not doing totally in-person learning. I think it could be a way better way to engage your students if you're still doing online in some capacity. So
if I may follow up that, just out of curiosity, do you guys, when it was normal, before it got crazy, did you still go to a lecture, and was the professor still lecturing?
For my classes, we did kind of a, what's it called? We did like a mishmash. So we had a lot of online aspects, but we went to, it's blended, that's what it was. We went to in-person classes less times a week, and we also had to be split into groups so that we could be socially distanced and everything. So instead of going to a class 3 days a week, I went 1, and we would have that in-person lecture then, what we would normally do. But and the other days we would just do our online work, and we wouldn't really have any talking. It was just that 1 day a week usually.
And Griffin, if I may just continue on this, and ask you, you know, if I was a kid, if I was your age, right, and I wouldn't have patience for 2 seconds to listen to a professor. The first thing I would do is I'll flip my phone, check his name, look at all his lecture, and then fade out. I mean, I would listen to him telling me that what he's recording. It could be, I mean, if he's smart, he's already recorded that, and it's better than his performance that Monday morning where he's grumpy and had a little fight with his wife or something. So that part should have been taken care of. The question is, what would I like as a student? Personally, I would prefer that I get a task, a problem that requires knowledge in that topic that I have to solve of some kind, right? And then whatever that problem is, and I would use tools, whether it's VR, AI, whatever tools available to me to complete that, even if I have the physical product. What is your reality now? And what would be your dream of how you would like it if you had to experience again your education? I'm curious to hear that.
So ironically, what you're talking about is actually what has happened to me more times than not during this pandemic learning session. So most of the professors that I have had and the classes that I've had have been marketed as, or not marketed, I would say, but advertised to us when we're signing up for them as like asynchronous virtual classes, where you don't know if it's going to be meeting on Zoom with your cameras on and everybody has to pay attention and gets participation points, or like you're talking about, meetings are recorded. Here's the recording every week, and go ahead and teach yourself. And I've had a lot of difficult classes, whether it be math, accounting classes. At times, like I'm taking a computer programming class this summer right now, and I'm doing exactly what you're talking about. The person is just posting the lectures, posting the material. Here you go. And when I've emailed him, it takes days to answer. So I think when it comes to the dream of what I would really want to see, if we have to live in this pandemic world or do these virtual classes right now, I mean, there seems to be a light at the end of the tunnel with vaccinations and things that we've talked about in the sales meetings. But I think an AR and VR solution, or just something that's interactive, would just really bridge the gap between this lecture attitude that these teachers have, where it's just, my job is to read you what I have to read you, and that's it. And what you're talking about, where it's challenging work and I really have to do something and learn and work on it, because at the end of the day, I would imagine, myself included, that most people really learn things when they work on them, with either hands-on or reading and then answering or something like that. I feel like implementation is really the way that people get to be comfortable with things and really learn them. I mean, you can read and watch all day long, but I think at the end of the day, a hands-on learning environment, or possibly an AR or VR solution where you're really in the scenario or interacting with what you're being told, is extremely beneficial, and my dream probably.
I mean,
Thank you. I'm very happy to hear that. Yeah, Richie.
yeah, and I think this question really should be flipped back to you. I mean, you went through what we call the traditional learning system. So what then would you have changed? I mean, because now there's all these technologies available, but back in your time, I mean, we're not going to go back to how long ago that was, but what would you have changed? And what do you actually learn in the classroom that you actually use in the workplace?
Almost nothing. I have a master thesis in computer science. I have a master in mechanical engineering. I never finished my PhD, but I mean, a lot of things I learned are useless, right? Most things you learn today are useless, and I mean, there are some truths if you study philosophy and so on. So I guess I learned to learn. I learned difficulty, challenges, being put to pressure and responded to that. But I expand your question a little bit and say, you know, sometimes I never learned topics until I was a PhD student. I had to teach it. That's when I actually got it. Because you learn for the test and you pass the test, but you don't really grasp it. So there's a magic when you actually do things yourself versus recite things, that kind of clicks. And whether you use physical environments, real stuff, or virtual augmented, doesn't matter. So I would love that part. I would like my teacher to be my mentor. I like the Karate Kid, right? The guy says, wash the windows. It's an old movie. You guys don't know that movie, but and then all those pieces that this kid learned eventually come together in a knowledge base. I would like challenges where they ask me to solve a problem, and they give me some basics, and I have to acquire the knowledge to solve. I would like that, and I do see. I would like. One thing that I would like also is that the teachers today, if you go to a professor and say, okay, first of all, you need to learn Zoom. Then you need to change your entire curriculum. Then we're not going to pay you more, we're going to pay you less. And then, by the way, we have this virtual reality, you should do that too. I can see why teachers are reacting in a way, they are overwhelmed, stressed. But I think if we use going back to karate, the opposite force, meaning that teachers, rather than doing more, they do less. They give you an assignment to solve a problem. You do solving. They are mentoring you and helping you. So I think that's where I think virtual mentor, that's what I would like. The problem in my time was it was very let's say you give me a problem, optimize a factory and do a logistic optimization on that factory so it's 25% more effective. Unless you stop a factory and give me access to that, I'm not going to do it. I can draw it, but technology, like I wish I had life-size XR because I could do that way. So things like that. Okay, there are many other things, but I'll stop there because I'm curious. I don't want us to talk so much here in Learn for Life because that's what we do every day. I want actually every team member, we have many that have not uttered the word, so direct the questions to them, please.
Sure, I will. I mean, I think what I got from what you were trying to say is literally a framework for learning, a framework to ask questions, a framework to problem solve and to creatively think.
Yes, a sandbox.
Exactly, a sandbox. This is a 21st century skill, but I think this skill would have been very useful even a century ago. But anyway, let's not talk about a century ago. Let's talk about the future. So forward, we're looking forward. Okay. So I'll pose this question perhaps to Kyle. Okay. So if you had a magic wand and if you wanted to see a change in the classroom, what would be the first thing that you would wish for?
If I had a magic wand, that's a great question, actually. As the other intern said here, nowadays with the COVID situation, the class are not really interactive. And also in France, for example, and even when I was an exchange student in Finland, the teacher used to update and upload the lesson online. So actually, if you want, you come to online classes, or if you don't want to, you have your online classes already there on the platform of the school. And if I had a magic wand, I would literally want the class to be more interactive, where actually you can be participative all together and feel the presence of the teacher, actually, because today we are talking about how hard it's for the teacher to adapt themselves with this crisis, with this pandemic, but we don't talk how much students deal on their own, you know, with the lack of presence of the teacher. So I will literally wish with my magic wand to be more interactive with the teacher, to feel their presence, to feel the participation of everyone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, very interesting. I mean, one thing, a survey that was did, I mean, 75% of students felt like collaboration was the one thing that they missed from doing online classes. So this is a very, very valid point, and one that I'm sure you're not the only one who's feeling that. So perhaps my next question then for Malia, where do you see AR and VR's place in education, perhaps 5 years from now, or if you want to go further, a decade?
Sure. Well, I am actually a biology major, so a lot of my background is in healthcare, and I see AR and VR being very heavily implemented in that field. Like, for example, if a student wanted to learn about the inside of the human heart, you know, they can just kind of put on their goggles and they can literally be in the heart and look at every part of it. So in those like particular scenarios, I think, yeah, it can be very useful. Or, you know, if a student wanted to learn about like what's in the inside of a plane, they can literally stand in it and look at every part of the plane. So yeah, I think it can literally be implemented in every aspect of education. And there's just so many ways in which it can be utilized too, you know? So for example, if you wanted to travel to a certain area in the world, you can just, again, like be fully immersed in that area. You can wear your goggles and feel like you are in that place. So yeah, I think in 5 years, it has the potential to be implemented in every aspect of education, for sure.
Yeah. So it will become the textbook of the future, essentially.
Yeah, but absolutely, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now, because EonXR is literally doing that now with over, I don't know, what is it then? More than 50 countries, over 70 partners that we're working now with. Yeah, so actually this future is happening much sooner than we think. So
yeah, one thing I would hope, if I may just say something, you know, I bet, how many of you guys love to travel?
All of us.
So especially now when we are starved, right? We haven't traveled much. And one thing that travel gives is that level of intimacy that you couldn't reach in a Zoom meeting, because you feel you're there, you see the context of that place. I think what VR and AR, beyond all these things, wonderful things that you mentioned, can give us that social fabric, and you actually get a feeling how it is to be in Morocco or in Marrakesh or in Cambodia and Laos without necessarily always being there, right? You want to go there, but it will also bridge that gap, and also bridge a gap between cultures in a way that is not been possible before, right? And because I think the world is becoming much more equalized. What we've done in New Jersey over the last 150 years is went from very poor place to becoming a very modern country. And this journey, everybody, whether in Rwanda or wherever you are in the world, everybody goes through that journey. But Rwanda's gonna go 10 times faster than we've done here in the US. So eventually we end up in the same place. And I think this technology can be an equalizer to understand other cultures, to be a part using new modern avatar technology that we just scratched the surface so far on. And I think eventually with age, let's say 5 years, maybe 10 years from now, we will not see a difference between the value of physical stuff will decrease and the value of virtual stuff will increase. So you will have your virtual engine will have a very high price. Not as high as $42 million for the real one, but in aircraft, but a high price. So, and we will find it so natural, perhaps not you, but your kids will have an indistinguishable between what's real and not, and that doesn't really matter as much. And all these objects, all these things will be very intelligent. So in my hope of the 10-year future is that help us to somehow avoid become victims for artificial intelligence, become these pets that AI does everything for us and we be useless and, you know, have no purpose. I hope that by embracing this technology, merging with this technology, we stand on their shoulders of giants and become empowered, very much like this thing empowers me right now, much more than as I'm getting older, don't remember stuff this thing knows, but hopefully it's gonna be close. I also think that virtual reality will have XR will have a short lifespan. We talk about 20, 30 years. And after that, technology that is less invasive than Neuralinks will be available. So the contact will be done, not done through your eyes or ears, will be on the, on the brain level. And that will complete the circle, so to speak. So we have a little period here of 20, 30 years. And the fun part is that you gonna experience this. It's very difficult to really think about it like that, but you're gonna see all that. You're gonna, I was reading an article that 1 kilogram of laptop today corresponds to the brain power of a human. 10 years ago, there was a whole building, right? But in 10 years, that's only not long forward. In 10 years, all human brains will be, the capacity of all humanity would be in 1 kilogram of a computer. So you can almost not imagine what impact that will have on us. And if I translate all this mambo jumbo to learning, we have to get ready to learn, so to speak. We have to be very nimble. And I think virtual reality, augmented reality can put us also in these scenarios that's kind of alternative world scenarios and see how we react and are flexible. I got off the tracks here. Sorry for that.
No, I can get you back on track. What is extremely important in this process that it doesn't matter where you are born on this globe or which parents you have or how you raised and born. You can always access the knowledge. You don't have to go to specific schools, old traditional schools. You can always get the knowledge, and the knowledge will follow you in life in a much better way that it has done in the past, that you always continue to educate yourself and you don't even understand that you educate yourself, but it will be part of your normal daily life. And you can sit under a tree somewhere in the forest in Sweden and educate as good as you're an MIT or Stanford or anywhere else in the world.
That's what Learn for Life is all about, right?
I know. Yes, it is.
Life. Yeah. Life. I pride myself to learn one new thing every month, and or a few new things every month. And so when the year passes, I can look back and see, wow, I learned this and this and this. But I'm lazy, so I like technologies like AR and VR because it's a lazy way to learn. Yeah, let's get it back to Richie and perhaps the ending, correct?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, thank you so much for all these insights. I mean, it's clear technology's here, but it's also really a mindset change. It's really a plethora of factors, but you know, XR, VR, AR makes it just all the more easier, I think, to just put these processes into place. But anyway, thank you so much. We've learned a lot from Dan as well as the students, Generation Z and Mikael, obviously. Yeah, so no, thank you so much for you know, your ideas and you know, your future visions, and we can't wait to see what the future will look like when Learn for Life realizes its knowledge as a human right, as a global vision. Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
I may say just the final thing I want to look forward to learn from the youngsters. So part of your internship duty is to bluntly tell us the truth to all guys like us. When you see something that we are out on the fields and speculate on things that you say, this doesn't make any sense in our reality, that you actually share that with us and guide us. The beauty of youth is that you think you're invincible. The beauty of age is that the older I think, the less I believe I know anything. So you get very humble with age. But so anyway, so please share with your mentors so it's not a one-way journey. Thank you guys. All the best. Bye.